Welcome to Feagan and Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
So this week 8 of the podcast, we'll be giving our top picks for the big breakthrough stars of next season, possibly even the end of this season, because I know a lot of clubs will be fielding their youngsters because there's going to be a lot of rotation. So this season, we've seen some big breakthrough stars like Haaland at Salzburg and Dortmund, even Mount at Chelsea after a good loan spell at Derby. Afonso Davies, the big star alongside Haaland this season, I think. He was widely unknown last season. He has come through and is now potentially the best left back in the world. There's also been some more minor breakthrough stars in some of the smaller leagues in Europe. In the Dutch league, for example, we have Calvin Stengs, the winger for AZ Alkmaar, and also their striker Badu, I think I pronounced that right. He's been a revelation this season for Alkmaar. So we're going to try and identify the next Haaland, the next Afonso Davies, the next breakthrough star for 2020-2021. And I think to get us going and to think about what do you mean by a breakthrough star? What if they've played a few times this season? We're going to have a qualification. So our picks will be players who have less than 20 league appearances. So if you've got more than 20 league appearances, you're not going to be a breakthrough star because you're playing already.
Exactly. You're already a star.
Already a star. Especially in a top league, is what we're mainly looking at the top leagues. So top leagues in Europe.
I'm not on about no National League sort of starlets because, apologies to any National League fans out there, but you just ain't making a list.
No, not at all. I reckon we should just get into it. And I reckon, Ryan, you can start us off with a top hot
Let's get...
pick.
Oh, here we go. Right. Well, if you watch the FA Cup game between Chelsea and Liverpool, you'll know one young man stole the show. You got man of the match that game. That man was, of course, Billy Gilmour. This guy is incredible. He's actually a joy to watch. That game against Liverpool, Finch, just fantastic. He stole the show. He ran the show. The midfield, no one could get past him. He was sensational in that game, He's only 18 years of age, and he looked like he'd been playing 10 seasons. He looked so confident on the ball, which is, as a Chelsea fan, just fantastic to see that from a youngster, especially, coming through. He joined from Rangers back in 2017, linked up with the Chelsea Academy, done very well in his first season in the Chelsea Academy, won the Premier League and the FA Cup. Also, I believe got to the finals of the Champions League, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not hard to see why so many Rangers fans were sad to see this young talent leave their academy and join ours, because he is going to be something special for sure. He really reminds me of his teammate, N'Golo Kante. He's such a workhorse, but with Gilmour, he seems to have also a little bit of flair about him, as you saw against what he done, to Fabinho. He's just one that's going to be. He's going to be amazing every game he plays. Already, he's played 2 games for Chelsea. He's played the one against Liverpool in the FA Cup and against Everton. Both times he won the Man of the Match award in both games. For me, he is one to watch, 100%. And, with Frank Lampard as manager, the world's his oyster.
I can completely agree. And he's one player, you've been telling me about him for a couple of years, I think, since he was like 16 years old. You're saying, watch out for this kid, Billy Gilmour. And my God, how good was he against Liverpool? He ran the show. But I think I was going to say, Chelsea next season with fully fit Ruben Loftus-Cheek, they're going to have Kante as well. They're going to be the main 2 midfielders Chelsea playing, and you've got Mount ahead of them as well. So it's going to be hard for Gilmour to get in. But then I was thinking about it again. I think with this coronavirus, I think clubs are going to be rotating their squad a lot more. So although Kante and Ruben Loftus-Cheek will be obviously the first 2 players on the team sheet for those central midfield positions, because Chelsea will have to rotate their squad a lot, Gilmour will get a lot of game time. I think towards the end of this season, even he'll get a lot of game time just because of the squad rotation. So I think just because of that,
100%,
he'll be able to break through. But in normal circumstances, I don't think he would have had as much of a chance.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing that got him into the team, actually, funny enough, was the fact that N'Golo Kante was injured, Jorginho was injured, and I believe Kovacic was either injured or suspended, or maybe both. And that's when he got his chance to play alongside Ross Barkley in that midfield. And the two of them worked so well together. You know, they played that midfield again against Everton, and it flourished yet again. You know, it just shows the depth that Chelsea have in that midfield. Such crazy talent.
Yeah. Yeah, you have I didn't even mention Kovacic, Barkley, and Jorginho, and then
Yeah.
Kante and Loftus-Cheek. I do think Kante and Loftus-Cheek will be the first two names in the team sheet next season, my personal opinion. And then
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
the next sort of round of players with Mount, with Jorginho, with Kovacic, and with Gilmour. And Gilmour has every chance of being the first among that crop of the
Exactly.
the best of the rest, almost, if you want to call them that. But Kante's Kante is the best CDM in the world. You're not gonna get ahead of him. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I think, is a player ready to go and is going to be unbelievable next season if he stays fit, because the ability he has and coming into almost his prime, you'd think, in terms of his age.
Well, yeah.
He is ready to go, ready to let loose, and ready to fulfill that potential. So I think Gilmour will be just behind those two. But I do completely agree that he will be a breakthrough star, because I think he has a mix, like you said. He has a mix of Xavi, Iniesta, Modric, Fabregas, mix of them all. And I think it did show Lampard's belief in him, because I think it was last August. He could have gone to Rangers, and there was an offer at Rangers. Everything was agreed, and Lampard blocked that move because he rated Gilmour so highly and thought he's going to be playing in my squad.
Yeah, he promoted him to the first team squad. I remember he had featured in a couple of pre-season games. There's a couple of games that we played in Ireland that he featured in. You know, and then once season started, he didn't really get the chance we thought he would. He appeared on the sub bench in a few games away at Burnley. I remember one, but he never come on. And like I say, it's only really by chance that he got his opportunity when the team needed him. That's what you're in a squad for, to come up when needed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think Gilmour epitomises what Chelsea will be looking for in the next few years as well. They're bringing through their academy players and actually playing them. That's a big difference to Chelsea traditionally. They had all these great academies. Chelsea always win these FA Youth Cups. So it's only really now they're actually starting to play them.
Best academy in the world.
Yeah, and best academy in the world, and yet probably the fewest great players to come out of that academy. But the only one that springs to mind is Terry. Yet you had this great academy. It's only now where I think that was a blessing in disguise. You got that transfer ban, because now you're having to bring through players, and Lampard's the perfect man. I don't think you would have got Lampard as a manager if you didn't have that transfer ban. And Lampard is now the manager to bring through the youth like Gilmour and this great crop. So yeah, I think it's a great player to start us off today.
Perfect.
And I think up next, I'm going over to France for a wonder kid, a 16-year-old kid who I think will be the next big thing. And I'm tipping him to win the Ballon d'Or in years to come. From what I've seen, I haven't seen a 16-year-old kid as good as this in my lifetime. He's an absolute prodigy. That is Rayan Cherki, an amazing player, a 16-year-old attacker who plays for Lyon, is a mix of Ben Arfa, Benzema as a sort of centre forward, and he became his hometown club's youngest ever scorer. And when I say hometown club, I don't mean a small club. I'm talking Lyon, one of the biggest clubs in France, traditionally the biggest for years and years. And what a way to get himself on the scene. In January this year, he got his first goal as a substitute in a win in France's version of the FA Cup. And as I said before, the youngest ever player to score for Lyon. And then a few weeks later, he started for Lyon in a 4-3 win against Nantes. And he was involved in all 4 goals. He scored 2, assisted the other 2. An unbelievable start to his career. And he's just been unbelievable since he started playing for them. He's played 12 times this season, his breakthrough season, mainly since January. And honestly, I haven't seen a youngster like him at 16 years old.
He's only 16. 16, wow.
If you look at look at him play and look at his build, you would not think at 16 he has a good build. Um, I think he originates a bit from Algeria, a bit from France, and I think he's going to choose to play for France when the time comes. But he's an absolutely amazing youngster and one to look out for in years. At 16 years old to be playing for Lyon, that is something. In Lyon, another club. We talk about Chelsea. Lyon, another club with a great academy,
Yeah.
potentially the best in France. Maybe PSG would rival that, but PSG, I sort of maybe like Chelsea, that they've had their troubles in actually promoting their youth players, and most of their youth have gone elsewhere and been successes. You look at Moussa Diaby at the moment at Leverkusen. You look at Edouard at Celtic. Those kind of players, they've gone elsewhere. Even Rabiot played a few times for them. Then he went to Juventus. So yeah, I think PSG have a problem themselves in their youth academy. I think that's why I'm backing Cherki, because he's not at PSG. He's at Lyon. Lyon are a club which play their youngsters, and there's a clear path for them to start there as well. Because Lyon always sell their best players. So if at the moment they have a number of people in that attacking midfielder position, but they're likely to sell one of those in the next year.
Wow. Well, that could be the youngest name on our list. 16 years old and already doing bits in the French league. Wow.
I think he's my top pick to look out for in the French league, and I think the French league is a really good league to develop and break through, because it's not as physically demanding. Whereas you look at the Premier League is the hardest league to break through if you're 60. You don't see any 16-year-olds anymore break through in the Premier League, so it just doesn't happen.
No, definitely not. 100%, mate. Last sort of player I remember breaking through is a player I'm going to bring up right now, actually. It's I wouldn't even say that he's really broke through just yet, but he's well en route at the club he's at, 100%. It's Harvey Elliott, Liverpool's youngster, the tricky winger. He made his debut, obviously, for Fulham, becoming the youngest ever Premier League player just a couple of months, I believe, after his 16th birthday. Yeah, he appeared on the scene with a very questionable haircut, but with that haircut, it got everyone talking. I remember on Twitter, he was actually trending for having such a wild, crazy haircut. It's silly man bun, but hey, it got everyone talking about him, and watching him play, it wasn't just the hair we was watching. He really controlled the game. His attitude was like someone who'd been playing, like Gilmore, someone who'd been playing for at least sort of 5 seasons. He's very confident, got a bit of arrogance and cockiness to him, which I don't mind. Cristiano Ronaldo does that best. Ibrahimovic, the great players all have a bit of swagger, a bit of arrogance to him. And Harvey Elliott seems to have a lot of it in his locker. He's only 17 years old now. Now playing for champions of Europe, Liverpool. He's been given a couple of chances for them. Not done incredible, but I believe in this kid 100%. I think he is going to be. I think he really will be a standout player within a few sort of couple of seasons, I reckon.
Yeah, and like Cherki, he's a player which looks and plays beyond his years, because actually built fairly well for just a 17-year-old. And
that's exactly it. He looks a lot older than 17. When I first saw him, I couldn't believe he was 17. It's not really the haircut sort of that a 16-year-old lad gets, It's certainly not how a 16-year-old lad plays.
Definitely. And he's just, I think he turned 17 this month. In April. So he's still extremely young. And I do think when Liverpool signed him from Fulham, that's a really good piece of business. I think he just, maybe next season, I don't think he'll break through the Liverpool team, but I think a loan move potentially in
that would do him best,
lower tier Premier League side.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He needs a couple of seasons experience, build his game up, play with some other great talent, and then really go back to Liverpool, strive into that team, and with Klopp as a manager, I think he's in for a very good future.
You look at Harry Wilson, what he's done. He's gone on loan to Derby, then he's gone on loan to Bournemouth, 2 really good spells, and he's probably ready. I don't see Liverpool signing a winger this summer, so I wouldn't be surprised because not just because of coronavirus, just because there's no real need for Liverpool to buy another winger once they have these 3 amazing players, the best front 3 in the world, and it makes sense for them to bring back Wilson and have him as their sort of secondary backup winger for Mane or Salah. So then that
Yeah.
allows Harvey Elliott to go on loan and possibly do the same thing as what
Perhaps go to Bournemouth.
Wilson did. Yeah, perhaps go
Yeah.
Bournemouth and replace Wilson.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. That would make perfect sense. Bournemouth are a great team for Harvey Elliott to develop. I'm sure Harry
Yep.
Wilson will be able to vouch for that and show him around the place. And I'm sure Eddie Howe will welcome Harvey Elliott and his talent because he is a winger. He's probably not like for Wilson, because Wilson has a probably better set piece delivery, but it's still a player which can offer so much to them, and he can really develop at a side like that. So that's actually a really good shout, that, and I could see that happening. So it's going to be a lot of loan moves over the summer.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see with clubs spending a lot less
Well, it
because of
works
this
best for both
coronavirus.
parties. Yeah, it works best for both parties in that sense. Harvey Elliott gets his Premier League experience that he needs to develop. Bournemouth get a fantastic young talent in their ranks. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, well, I think I was talking about that actually. That's it. I completely forgot about Harry Wilson, that he even existed in Liverpool's stratosphere. I just thought he was a Bournemouth player in my head there, and then thought actually no, he's on loan for Liverpool. No one really
Yep.
looks at him as a loan player from Liverpool. Like, you don't see people saying, "Oh, Harry Wilson's about to come back to Liverpool." You just don't hear that happen. Yeah, he's had a real good loan spell there.
Yeah, he's had a really good spell. He had a good spell at Derby last year. Obviously wasn't ready to go back to Liverpool, so they sent him out on loan again to get that Premier League experience. And like you said, I think he could be ready to step up.
Yeah. Well, you look at what he did at Derby last year. He outshone Mount at Derby. Mount obviously had a great loan spell there, but he outshone Mount at Derby. I think he got 15 goals at Derby last year, and was unbelievable in his set
He
pieces.
was pivotal in that playoff chase.
Yeah,
That
and
game
look what Mount's
against
done
Leeds.
since.
Oh my god. Well, exactly.
So if Mount can, and also when I say what Mount's done since, also Harvey Elliott's got a fair amount of goals for Bournemouth this season. So not Harvey Elliott, sorry, Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson. Yeah. So I can see him playing Liverpool a fair bit next season. And we're talking about, I guess we're saying breakthrough stars as people under 20 appearances, but in terms of players for top clubs, I wouldn't be surprised if Harry Wilson does quite well for Liverpool next year.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, especially if they sell someone like Shaqiri, because Shaqiri, I mean, he's not really done much for Liverpool since joining, so he can take his spot on the bench, get a few. Liverpool are going to have a lot of competitions to compete in next year. They need that talent.
And what would be the point of Liverpool trying to sign a winger when they have Wilson come back?
When they have Harry Wilson, on their ranks.
There's literally no point. But yeah,
no.
I think we should move on to another player, and a player who's come through probably the most famous academy in the world, and that's La Masia. Of course, Barcelona's academy, where Messi, Fabregas, Xavi, Iniesta, the greats, they came from this academy. Some great defenders also, Piqué, Puyol, so many great defenders. And I think this player could be the next great defender to come from that academy. He's not at Barcelona, he's at Man City. I'm talking Eric Garcia. So he's a player.
Nice shout.
He's 19 years old, very young, a player who is very well respected in the game, yet is hardly talked about. You always hear people talk about Foden coming through next season. You don't hear people talk about Eric Garcia. He's a centre-back, and he's been promoted recently by Guardiola. He's made 6 appearances in the league this year, 11 appearances overall, so qualifying him for our breakthrough star. And overall, I think Man City have struggled this season with Laporte being injured. Stones has had awful form. Fernandinho is just not right in the centre-back position. He does a job there, but you're taking him out of his best position in his CDM sweeper role. So I think next season, if Stones carries on as he is, which I don't think Guardiola really trusts him anymore because of his lack of consistency, Laporte will want a partner next to him. And I can't see City spending big because of the coronavirus preventing clubs gaining a lot of money at the moment, and City will have financial fair play troubles if they try and buy someone for significant money. So I think Eric Garcia is in a really good position where they should promote him if Guardiola trusts him as much as he says, because I've literally just given him a massive contract. And Guardiola compared him to Busquets actually in terms of his ability to understand the game. If he trusts him that much, he should play him. And he's a
Yeah.
massive player. He's built like a tank. He's ready to go and play alongside Laporte. Laporte's a stalwart, and if you're going to be a youngster, you want to play alongside a defender who's experienced and who will be that leader, and Laporte is that. So I think he could be a really good breakthrough star next year. He's already in the Spanish under-21s, this famous under-21 side. He's made a fair few appearances this season. He's come on for Otamendi a couple of times, and when I was saying before about Laporte needs a partner, I don't think Otamendi will be that partner next year either. I think it'll probably still be at Man City if they don't sign another player, but he's going downhill as the days go by. So I think there's a real opportunity for Garcia to come in the reckoning and be that player who starts next to Laporte.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is a really good shout, especially as it's been up in the air with regards to what's happening with City's European future for the next couple of seasons. You know, they won't be able to attract the big starlet defenders like you know the maybe like a Bonucci or Jerome Boateng or like a Hummels sort of figure. They'll need the youth, much like Chelsea have had. You know, with the fact that they can't sign anyone, they've had to rely on their youth, and honestly, it's worked for Chelsea. I don't see why it can't work for Man City.
Yeah, and that's what Chelsea and Man City, in terms of the amount of money they spend in their academies, they're the two biggest spenders in their academies. Yet they're, prior to this season, that they Cat and Chelsea in this, they're the two clubs which probably played their academy players the least.
Yeah,
that's obviously changed the season with Chelsea, but prior to this season, I would say that you look at Man City, they've got some great players coming through, just don't play them enough. In Chelsea, that used to be the case, and many players tend to waste the talents because of that. You look at Solanke, you look at Josh McKechnie, and those kind of players, which were meant for great things, did well in the academies.
Yeah, Izzy Brown,
Izzy Brown, exactly. And you just hope Man City now, maybe the blessing in disguise that they'll get a transfer ban or they'll get a European ban. It will make them promote youth, like Chelsea had this blessing in disguise, because they need to play Eric Garcia, they need to play Foden, and there's like some Foden would have been a player on this list, I'm sure, if he played less than 20 appearances. He's not far off 20, to be fair. He's on 32, which is awful for a player who's 20 years old and was probably the best player of that generation, which won the World Cup. Under 17 World Cup, he got the golden player for that tournament. And then look at the other players in the England team. You have Sancho, Hudson-Odoi, players who have really gone on.
Yeah, I completely agree, Finch. Maybe, you know, this could, it's like you say, it could be a blessing in disguise for City to get this European brands, and so they can reach out to their youth and show the City fans that they're not all about just spending the big bucks.
I think the biggest test will be probably not Garcia. It'll be with I know we shouldn't be talking about him, but with Foden, because
with Phil Foden, yeah.
You can't say he's the best player you've ever seen. He said he's the best youngster he's ever seen. I'm pretty sure he went on record saying that. And he's seen Messi. I know Foden's unbelievable. He's probably one of the best talents out there. If he got the golden ball ahead of Sancho and Hudson-Odoi, if you look what Sancho's doing now, he's the best 19, 20-year-old out there apart from Mbappe. So
yeah,
you have to probably hand it to him. He probably is one of the best Guardiola has seen, maybe outside of Messi. I don't think you can really say it's better than Messi at that age. He's probably just exaggerating a little bit. But if Guardiola if Guardiola is really, he really thinks that, he's got to play him. And with David Silva going
why
next
are you
season,
not playing the next Messi? You know, when you're in a losing battle for the Premier League title.
Yeah, and the difference
and for the Champions League.
Definitely the difference here as well is Foden actually. You don't have many players coming through Man City academy who loves the club as much as him. He adores the club. He will wear a badge on his sleeve. And Man City haven't had many of those players in recent years because no one's come through their academy. So I think he'd be a massive bonus for Man City, especially with their supporters, the link he'd have with them. So it makes complete sense for them to play him. And that, I think that is the test for next season. Garcia, he might play, maybe not. But the real test is whether Foden plays. And with David Silva going, if Foden doesn't play, that is bad news for the rest of Man City's academy. Because you look at Foden, potentially the best English player from his generation of under 17s, let's say, England under 17s at that point. If he doesn't get in the team, no one's going to get in the team for all these Man City youngsters. And why would you go to Man City's academy if you're not going to get in the team?
You might as well just say bye-bye and, ship off like Jadon Sancho did. And, hey,
Mm,
take a leaf out of Jadon Sancho's book, go to Germany, go to Italy, make it over there, get a big money move back to England, and show Man City exactly what they're missing.
definitely. And the difference being, Sancho, if the Euros were this summer, Sancho, because of his moves, Sancho would be one of the starters for England. Foden wouldn't even be in the squad. Foden should be, if he plays in Man City, should be in the squad next year. But
Yeah,
Sancho would have been starting, would have been the main players. And the reason for that is not just down to Sancho, not down to Sancho being a better player necessarily when he made that move. It's because he made the move and developed because he's playing week in, week out. Whereas Foden hasn't been. When he plays, unbelievable player. He got the man of the match in the League Cup this year, and to get the man of the match in the League Cup, you've got to have something about you. So he's a great player who just needs to play, and I think it'll be awful, and if he doesn't get that chance next season with David Silva going, and that will be Guardiola's fault and no one else's really.
yeah. If they sign a big name player to fill in that David Silva spot, then I say it's a real kick in the nuts for Phil Foden.
Mm. Yeah. And the sad thing about it is he was not lead the club. So a lot of players in his position, like Sancho, because he doesn't support Man City, it's not his club. He's happy to leave to progress
Yeah.
his career. Foden adores the club, so he's not going to leave them. So he would just waste his career away if they don't play it well, not develop as well as he could have. I do think he needs to play because he's one of the best English players we've had of our generation in that age group. So got to play. And we're talking Bravery Stars under 20 appearances, but he could be, those over 30 appearances, he could be the best English young player in our league next year if he plays every game.
One to watch there.
One to watch. I think we should
One,
go on to the
two.
next player.
The next pick, right? This is a big one, Finch. This young
I'm looking
man.
forward to this. You're building him up.
This young man has come onto the scene at one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in the world. He's the youngest goal scorer in Champions League history. I think you know exactly who I'm on about. It's Barcelona's whiz kid. It's the guy with lightning speed. It is of course Ansu Fati.
Just so everyone knows, he is not his namesake. He is not a fatty. It's just his
No,
name.
he definitely isn't. Not with his pace. No chance. He is incredible. He's that good. He's got a 200 million euro buyout clause, and he's not even signed a professional contract yet. Once he signs that professional contract, it goes up. It doubles. It goes to a 400 million euros buyout clause at 17 years old. That is, I've never heard anything like that. Honestly, that is madness. He come onto the scene. I think he's Barcelona's second youngest ever player, their third youngest ever goal scorer in La Liga. Absolutely fantastic. He's got 4 goals in 16 appearances, which honestly, it doesn't sound like a lot, but he has played amazing in them games, firstly. Secondly, he's only 17. And thirdly, he plays with Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Antoine Griezmann, who, are going to get all the goals in that setup. So the fact that he even got 4 goals is sensational. This kid is going to be the next big thing.
100% agree. And there's no better club for his development than Barcelona. They
Nope.
will. We talk about Man City and potentially Foden not playing. Barcelona will play their youngsters. They will bring their youth through their academy. And probably that's been over recent years. They haven't actually done that. That's probably been one of their downfalls and one they haven't done as well maybe in the Champions League because I can't really think of many youngsters they've actually properly brought through. They've had some great youngsters. They still do. They have the likes of Puig, and they haven't played him much. They have
No.
several other youngsters. I think there's a few midfielders they have as well.
The only really one I can think of is maybe Sergio Roberto was the last one.
But he hasn't played a massive amount. He's played 20 odd appearances per season. He's not become one of their stalwarts, has he?
No.
Because they have, I can't remember the midfielder's name, but they have this amazing young midfielder, a central midfielder, attacking midfielder, but he never broke through. I think he's out on loan at the moment. His name will come to me, I'm sure, later on this podcast. And he's just not broken the team. I think Fassi's the first player which has been able to properly show his talent and break through in that Barcelona team in recent years. And
Yeah.
because of his talent, once you have that talent at Barcelona, they will play you and they will allow you to develop. I get just quickly names coming to my head. Carlos Alina, that was the player, amazing potential, and
Yeah.
now I think he's out on loan at the moment, but he just hasn't developed because he hasn't been playing. And
Hasn't been given a
to be a
chance.
top player, you've got to. He's at Real Betis at the moment. He's 22 years old, and
Yep.
he was one of the best talents to come out of the Messiah in recent years. Yeah,
Yep.
hasn't played as much as he should have and hasn't developed. But their centre mid's probably the hardest position to get into at Barcelona. But
Oh
to
yeah.
be a winger at Barcelona, traditionally the hardest position, but at the moment there's an opening there. Dembele's injured, Messi's getting on, so you can learn from the best still, but is getting on.
Coutinho's not really going to be playing that much.
Coutinho's not getting on. Neymar's not coming back, it seems. So there's a real opening for him to
Yep.
redevelop and make the position his own. I guess that's what you need. You need that luck at a top club to have a position open where you can go in. Messi had it at the beginning of his career where there was
Exactly.
almost
That,
Ronaldinho was going. He left to Milan, and before that you had that
yep.
Pioli, who was one of the main wingers in that famous 2006 Barca Champions League winning team. He left, freeing
Mhm.
Messi for that role, and then obviously Ronaldinho left, so Messi could become the star. He could have a similar situation.
That's exactly it, Finch. And you hope that Barcelona do give him the chance. He doesn't become another one of these fantastic Barcelona young talents, like the likes of Adama Traore, the likes of Deulofeu, the likes of Bojan, who seem to light up the place when they're not playing for Barca. I can't really say that for Bojan. Obviously, he was absolutely fantastic for Barcelona, and his career sort of just fizzled out ever since. But I don't want. I can't really. I can't predict the future, but I don't want that to be the case for Ansu Fati because he is so young and he is so exciting to watch. He's a real generational talent. The Barca fans love him. The whole team loves him. I think he's going to get on just fine at Barcelona.
Yeah. Talking about Bojan, he's a perfect example for the players we're talking about. He was the wonder kids of all wonder kids, wasn't he? He was meant to be the next big
Well,
thing. And
yeah, it was that era of Bojan, Alexandra Pato, who just they set the world alight at so young that their expectations just soared, and they just never lived up to them. Injury obviously didn't help, but still they didn't live up to the hype.
look at Bojan now. Is that Montreal impact? It's not a good career, but I'm sure a few players we're talking about will be like that. It doesn't always work out. You come on the scene very young, you make a big impact, but then after that, for several different reasons, injuries, you can't handle the pressure, just how your career goes, you don't develop. It just doesn't work out. So that's what stands some players from the rest. And I think what we're talking about, that Fatty, is that I don't know. It doesn't sound right calling him that just because the name. But
Ansu.
Answer, I'll call him Answer. I think that will work better because
Yep.
I can't keep a straight face saying that. And I think what he needs is to be playing regularly. And I think what I was saying before, Barcelona is a perfect place to develop. It's the perfect place to develop only when you're playing, because when you're playing with top players to learn from. Messi played with Ronaldinho and learned from the best. Ansu can play with Messi and learn from the best. But if you're not playing, then you won't develop. You look at Carlos Alina. He was at Barcelona, one of the best in his generation in terms of his age group. Let's say is under 17, under 18, under 19 Spanish centre mids. But he just didn't play because the players ahead of him. So he couldn't learn from Xavi and Iniesta because he wasn't playing next to them the whole time because Busquets, because they were ahead of him. They were that good. And lucky with Ansu, there's an opening in the side. So I think he could potentially be the next big thing. And next season could be his real season. I think him and Cherky are my top two ones at the moment. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, Ansu is going to be so exciting to watch if he plays regularly. You've also what you said about Bojan, Adama Traore. You've also got a couple more which I've honestly forgotten. So I've done my research. Halahojevic, you remember him? That big money move. Halahojevic, the wonder kid. The rival Martin Odegaard, and where even is he now? What happened? He just fell off the map.
Where is he?
I don't honestly know. I think he's playing somewhere in Germany, but he was deemed to be this next wonder kid. the wonder kid of all wonder kids, and Barcelona just didn't play him. I'm sure he had the talent, much like Meunier. He had the talent. He's not really doing much at Valencia. Is he at now? Valencia.
Mate, I think so. Yeah, I think he's at Sevilla. Then he went to Valencia.
It's Barcelona have such a great academy, and they have all these amazing players that come through, much like Chelsea, much like PSG, much like Lyon. But it's only if you do something with that talent that the talent really shines. So I'm
And
praying that Ansu gets that chance.
I completely forgot about was it
That's exactly it.
Halilovic? And is it
Halilovic.
Halilovic? Yeah, difficult
Yeah,
name to pronounce, but he was
correct.
touted as him and Odegaard were touted as the next two big things, and Madrid did well for Odegaard in getting him. People thought, oh, okay, he's not going to make it anymore because his development wasn't as quick as people expected because 15, 16 years old, he was playing for Norway, and then just didn't kick on with Real Madrid. It took a while to develop, but now he is one of the best centre mids since it's cans in that league. He's going to go back to Madrid, and I can see him breaking through their team and playing week in week out and being Modric's successor. He's been unbelievable for
He's been
Sociedad
fantastic.
this season.
Absolutely fantastic in the team of the season. What a player!
And he's a player which proves also he's only 21, so this is quite crazy saying this, but proves you can be that next big thing, but then be written off, and everyone says, okay, you haven't fulfilled potential, and then come back from that and fulfill your potential. Because in like a short space of 5 years, 16 years old, he was touted as the next big thing. He's going to set the world alight. 17, 18 years old, he went on loan. Well, he was in Real Madrid's B side. Went on loan to a Heerenveen, I think, in the Dutch league, and didn't do too much. And I thought, okay, he's just another Halilovic, how do you pronounce him? He's not going to do anything. Halilovic, there you go. He's another Bojan. He's not going to live up to his potential. Bojan.
No.
I think the commentators pronounce him differently. I like to say Bojan, so I'm going to say Bojan. But then he went on loan to Vitesse, Chelsea's famous partner, and he
played
set
with
the world
Mason
alight.
Mount.
Yeah,
Played with Mason Mount.
Set the world alight in that league, and then he didn't go to Real Madrid because it's probably too big a step up. And Real Madrid are really good with their loanees. They loan them out to the right clubs or sell their youngsters to the right clubs and buy them back. You see Carvajal, what happened there. And they thought, okay, we'll loan him to a Spanish side, but a decent mid-tier to sort of Europa League Spanish side. We'll loan him to Sociedad where he can really develop. And he's developed, my God. And he's gonna come into that Real Madrid side next year and play nearly every game.
Yep. He's got the perfect.
Who were we talking about before then?
We was talking about Ansu Fati.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Ansu Fati, yeah. Another one that I can think of actually, alongside the Halilovic and Odegaard. Do you remember?
Wait. Before you say that, I've just realised something. I was saying, Odegaard went to Heerenveen in the Dutch league, a lower tier Eredivisie side. That's where Halilovic is at the moment.
No way.
Yeah, swings and roundabouts.
That's actually, that's really actually quite crazy. How old is Halilovic now?
23, which is quite crazy.
That's absolutely crazy. And the other one, go on. I'll let you go on. You carry on. Go on.
Another player which came to mind, another wonder kid, which didn't make it and is now unbelievably 27 years old. Marco Van Ginkel.
To be fair to Van Ginkel, he had a lot of injury troubles.
They're 27 now.
I know. That is just insane. That is actually incredible. I feel really sorry for the guy. He seems like such a nice guy. He gets on with all the Chelsea players. That he's still at Chelsea now. Funny enough, he goes on a crazy amount of loans. He's just been really unlucky with his injuries. But every time he thinks he's gonna get a chance to break through, he had a really bad injury during pre-season last year, I believe. It's just it's really not working out for him.
He had a real good loan spell at PSV. Got a fair amount of goals there and then got injured again.
It's really unfortunate for the guy. The main one that I was going to say, with that Odegaard, with the Haliljovic, Finch, I'm sure you remember this guy. It was the AC Milan wonder kid, Hakim Mastur, the Moroccan skiller.
Hakim Massour.
Yeah, do you not remember him? Hakim Mastur, the Moroccan skiller, was pegged to be one of the next big things because of his ball skill abilities. Was, compared so much to Adel Taarabt, but
Yeah,
clearly
yeah, yeah.
better.
Yeah. I remember him a little bit
A
now.
better attitude. He's played 13 games in 6 years.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Had a loan spell at Malaga, played one game, and that was it. Done nothing since.
Not good.
Sold by
Not good.
Milan in 2018, playing for Lamia, which is a Greek team. It's, we have this podcast where we talk about these next big breakthrough stars. I can't speak for myself. I speak for myself. I can't speak for Finch, sorry. I can't see into the future. Maybe Finch can, but it doesn't always work out. We can't see into the future, but we can give a good insight to what we think will happen. But sometimes it doesn't always work out with the likes of Haliljovic, Bojan, Pato, Mastur, like we've mentioned.
Yeah. There's quite a few players like that through this, and even there's some players which still have had a good career, but haven't been as good as they were hyped up to be. Like
No,
Walcott.
have not lived up to that hype. No, the whole Theo Walcott was pegged to be ever since that hat trick for England. My God, the hype was just there, always,
And
always,
he was very
always
good,
there.
still a very good career, but
Yeah, still
just
had a good career, but
didn't live up
won't
to
go
potential.
down as the legend that we all thought he was gonna.
No, not at all. And I think a player who's probably the most overhyped English youngster and potentially the player who everyone thought was going to be the next big thing, he didn't live up to his potential, Jack Wilshere.
Frimpong. Jack Wilshere. Yeah, good thinking. That is, Jack Wilshere, 100%, man. He was going to be so good. I'm thought he had a lot of injuries, Jack Wilshere. That's the thing with Jack Wilshere. So many injuries.
Yeah.
Every time he bounced back and we all thought it was going to come good. Had a few good games, and then injuries set him back. Like in 2015, 16, when he was having them amazing games for England, you thought he's going to go back into this Arsenal setup. It just never worked out. He got injured again. Then he went to Bournemouth. I think he got injured at Bournemouth. Went back to Arsenal, got sold to West Ham, been injured like 3 times. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Another one you got. Remember this one? Michael Johnson for Man City.
Oof. That is a blast from the past.
We talk about Phil Foden being an academy graduate from Man City. Michael Johnson was tipped to be one of the next big thing for England. But
the crazy thing about Michael Johnson is how he went from basketball being at the top of his game and then went into sport and went into Man City's academy, became a younger player and then went through their academy and played again. No wonder he got injured. He's playing years at basketball.
Shit. Michael Johnson, not Michael Jordan.
No, I know. Yeah, Michael Johnson. But yeah, still a great youngster.
Yeah.
My next pick, we're moving to Portugal this time to mix up a player who's lit up nearly every youth tournament he's been at, and that is João Felipe, better known as Jota. Not the Jota at Wolves, another Jota.
Another Jota.
And he's a winger for Benfica. It's probably a bit naughty because he's played 23 times for Benfica, so just over our 20-game qualifying limit. But he's still a youngster, I think, who hasn't broken through at the moment. I think he is really ready. He's on the crisp of breaking through and being a special player for Benfica because they have a great academy. Brought through some special youngsters in the past, and most recently João Felix, sold for over 100 million. So João Felipe, I won't say Jota to avoid confusion. His at under 17 level, he won the UEFA under 17 championships. He was a top goal scorer in that tournament. Then in 2018 at the under 19 UEFA European Championships, he was the top goal scorer in that as well. He's also the team of the tournament for that. And he's played because of how the B teams work in Portugal, like winning European leagues. He's had a real good record in Benfica's B teams. He got the Young Player of the Year for the second division in Portugal for Benfica's B team, and that just shows that he is a youngster who is really ready to kick on. He's won the accolades in these European tournaments, under 19s, under 18s, and he's won individual awards in sort of the B teams. He's really ready to kick on for Benfica. And Benfica are a great side for him to learn it. He's played 23 times this season as a winger, scored 2 goals, which isn't too impressive, but his playing time hasn't been the best. And when he's played throughout Portugal's youth levels, he's got a goal nearly every other game. Under 17 level, he got 10 goals in 15 games. Under 19 level, 10 goals in 20 games. So a very good record. And I can see him building on that and being a key part of Portugal's national team in years to come. Portugal have had a really good youth side in the last few years, and under 19 championships in 2018 they won it, and he was top goal scorer at that. Under 17 youth championships in UEFA Youth Championships, the European ones in 2016, they won that. He was a part of that. So he's been part of that great Portugal sort of side, which has brought through Ruben Diaz, João Felix, and I think he'll be the next one from that side. Also, that side, they had the Tottenham field as well, Gedson Fernandes.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he has compatriots who have really kicked on, and I think he's the next one out of that age group who'll really be that star.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. Does he play much like João Felix?
No, he's very different players. More of a winger, striker, centre forward. Paulo Dybala. Paulo Dybala kind of player. A little bit less flair than Dybala. So more, it's probably a mix between Dybala and Werner, I'd say.
Oh wow. Do you have any more of these youth picks, Finch?
I have one player I really want to mention. I shouldn't, because he's got 22 appearances, and I've got a few others.
Go on, I'll let you off. Go on, go for it.
And just because his English is very topical, and I think he's not just going to break through next season. I think this player will be the breakthrough start of almost this mini season we have coming as the Premier League resumes. How many games we've got left? 10 games. And 10 games. I think this player is going to be the breakthrough star of that mini season. Right? That is Mason Greenwood, 18-year-old who has the world at his feet, a player who is learning from potentially United's greatest out-and-out poacher in Solskjaer, who scored one of the most famous goals in United's history in that 1999 Champions League winning final against Bayern Munich. So he's 18 years old. He has the world at his feet. He plays in a team which is bringing through youth and playing young players at the moment. And Solskjaer is a believer in Greenwood. He's playing Rashford left wing, and Rashford's thriving in that position. Martial is sometimes being played through the middle, but sometimes on the right wing. And there's an opening for a striker there. And I don't think United will be signing a striker just because I don't think they're going to make that a priority. I think they're going to rotate between Martial, Greenwood, and Ighalo. And I think Martial maybe even be pushed out on the right wing a bit more, and Greenwood and Ighalo will be rotated. And even this season in Europe, you can see he's a great goal scorer. In your first season, to get 5 goals when you were playing a few minutes here and there is a great feat in the Premier League. And he scores some absolutely amazing goals. He's both footed. He is often compared to Robin Van Persie.
Of Van Persie. Yeah, when you see him play, he must base his football off Robin Van Persie. He has to. The similarity is so scary, if not.
He is a proper out-and-out striker. I haven't seen a 2-footed player since, I don't think I've ever seen a 2-footed player, 18-year-old like him, come through and be as good as he is at finishing. Obviously, he has some great young players come through, like Rooney and Kane and all those kind of players who are absolutely amazing forwards and strikers. But I can't remember a player being as 2-footed as he was, as naturally gifted in terms of his finishing as he is, as Greenwood. And I think Solskjaer's even said that, and Rashford's even said that Greenwood's a better finisher than Rashford. That's just because he's a natural born goal scorer, a finisher with 2 feet, and he scores in all kinds of positions. He scores from outside the box, he scores inside the box, just gets out of his feet and has a shot, and he has power on those shots. It reminds
Oh
me
yeah.
of not just the RVP, but of Shearer, because of his Shearer had power. Shearer used to go for power over placement, and that reminds me a bit of Greenwood, just because I think his power and his shots are ferocious. And Manchester United are a club which brings through youth, and he won their Young Player of the Year last year, and they've got a good crop of youth at the moment. Like Brandon Williams has just come through as well. They've got a few young players coming through, and Greenwood is the best player from that team. And I personally think he could be an outside shout of the Euros next year, like we talked about before. He's gone through every
Yeah.
English age group, under 15s, under 17s, under 18s, under 21s. Who is there to say he comes through, plays a fair amount of games for United next season? You have Martial on the right hand wing. Unlike the situation, they get Sancho. You have Martial switching with Greenwood up front. Then you have Rashford left hand wing. You have Greenwood becoming an absolute sensation, scoring goals left, right, and centre. Tabloids, not the back pages, I'm talking the front pages. He's going to be on next year, scoring those goals. Man United player, English player. Southgate thinks, oh God, I've got to include him in my squad. Look at this amazing young player. I'm including him. We get to the Euros. He comes on, scores a couple of goals here and there, and then we get to the final. We've got France in the final. Oh God, it's 2-2. We come to extra time. Okay, Kane's got injured. Who do I bring on? I bring on Greenwood. Oh God, we've got a free kick. Oh, everyone's getting a bit scared here. Henderson, I don't want to take it. Well, actually, no. Henderson says, I do want to take it. Then everyone says, Henderson, you're not going to score that. Great player, but you're not going to score it. Then Sancho says, I'll take it. Then Greenwood goes, no, I'm taking the ball. I score these every day in training. Then he takes that free kick. He scores it in the top left-hand corner, and he is a generational star. That is Mason Greenwood.
It's coming home.
I've now built him up. It's coming home.
It's coming home. Oh my God, yes. But are you sure in that same game that France don't bring on Cherky, who scores the equaliser straight after Greenwood scores his free kick?
Yeah, that might happen. I didn't think of that. But yeah, I've probably built him up to fail now. But I do, in all seriousness, I do think he'll be a real good player for United in years to come.
Finch, I understand. You can see that already with the way he plays. He's another one like mostly he's one of the kids that we've been talking about. It's crazy how fast they adapt to play in this world class, this faster paced football, which is a lot different to youth level.
Yeah, I just think that because of his two-footedness, you don't have that kind of ability to not kick on.
No,
yeah,
I completely agree.
And one player also I want to mention, who I'm just mentioning because I think he'll kick on next season, not because he'll be a breakthrough star. Because I think this year was more of his breakthrough season. It was cut to a short end because of the Eredivisie deciding to cut their season off because of coronavirus, and that's PSV's Mohamed Itarin. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but an absolute unbelievable player, a generational talent who Morocco and Netherlands have been fighting over in terms of who he's going to represent in the future. And I think he's going to be one of Netherlands' best, if not the best player they have in years to come. He's an 18-year-old, he's played 27 times for PSV this season. 3 goals. Been a very, very good player. Is likened all the time to Kaka. Big comparison, but he's an extremely good player, and I think he'll be one to watch out for. And in terms of others to watch out for, I've got a couple of names if you want me to roll off the list.
Go for it, my man.
So we've got Brian Gill from Spain. He's a Sevilla youngster. I think he's going to have a very, very, very bright future. He was at Sevilla, didn't play enough, and just before his coronavirus began, he went on loan to Ligan. And if he plays a few times there when the season gets underway again, I think he'll really shine. He's probably the best Spanish attacker in his age group as a 19-year-old. Obviously, you have Fati, Ansu Fati, 17 years old. But in terms of what Brian Gill is as a very tricky winger, I don't think there's another Spanish player like him. Moving over to Germany at Bayern Munich, we have Joshua Zirkzee, who I also think is a very, very good player who is one to look out for definite. He is from the Netherlands and has gone through all the age groups from under 15s, under 19s, came through Feyenoord's academy, famous academy. I think that's where RBP came through, and Percy, so good reputation of strikers. And obviously,
Hmm.
you have at Bayern, you have Lewandowski, but I think, as we talked before, rotation is going to happen. And I think next
Yeah.
season, I think he'll get quite a few opportunities. He's played 7 times so far in the league this year. He's got 3 goals, so nearly a goal every other game in the
Oh
league, which
wow.
isn't bad at all. I think he's a
No, definitely
player
not.
really, really to look out for. So another player to look out for. And my final one is a player who a lot of Spurs fans have been crying out to play the whole time. When Kane was injured, he looked like he might play, but he turned out just to be on the bench. He's started for Republic of Ireland, believe it or not. Yet he hasn't probably played enough for his actual club side, and that's Troy Parrott. So I don't know if he started for
Ooh.
him, but he definitely is. His representatives, um, he's represented Republic of Ireland internationally, one appearance. No, he didn't. No, he has started. Believe it or not, it was against New Zealand. My memory went there. He definitely started, and he actually got an assist. And Republic of Ireland
Hmm.
have been crying out for a striker since Robbie Keane got injured. They haven't had that star striker since he got injured. Obviously, had John Walters, who's
Daryl
done very well.
Murphy.
Daryl Murphy, but John Walters is probably the closest they've got. They've got to it because he obviously got some crucial goals for them qualifying Euro 2016. I want to say
Hmm.
2016. Crucial goals for that, but they haven't had someone really kick on to replace Robbie Keane, their greatest striker and their greatest goal scorer. And 18 years old, Troy Parrott, he is Tottenham's second striker basically under Kane. I don't see Tottenham signing another striker. And Kane, as good as he is, he has a bad injury record. If Tottenham don't sign another striker and rotation is like to happen under coronavirus, he could be playing quite a lot because he's
Yeah.
tipped to be the next big thing at Spurs. And even Christian Eriksen recently came out and said he's a very, very good player and he sees him playing a lot next season. So if the likes of Christian Eriksen say that, then you've got something going right for yourself. Even Mourinho hasn't played it much, but he's given him a contract till 2023. So you must believe in him in
Yeah, they
some
got
kind of
some
way.
faith in him. Yeah.
So I think he was my final pick.
Oh wow. I've got a couple more names to roll off. If we're going for under 20 caps, you obviously got Reece James. I won't say too much about Reece James because we've already spoke about him in quite a few podcasts already. So he's just going to be absolutely phenomenal for Chelsea and hopefully for England as well. You know, maybe pushing on to get a Euros spot. We don't know.
In the
And
squad, yeah, maybe.
my final pick was Giovanni Reina from Borussia Dortmund.
Ooh, very, very good
Yeah,
pick.
yeah, the young American, still only 17, 18 years old. He reminds me of a lot of Marco Asensio the way he plays. I think he's got a lot of flair about him. He's got a hell of a right foot on him. You see that goal he scored against Werder Bremen? My word, what a strike! Top corner.
Mm,
I think that's really doing that on your like third appearance for Dortmund. That's incredible. He carries on like that. He will be a phenomenal. And what better club to do it at than Borussia Dortmund?
mm. Oh, you think as well, if Sancho goes, they've got a perfect replacement there.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Perfect replacement.
So, but I didn't have too much to say about Giovanni Reina because he hasn't really played that much. But when he has played, he's been pretty standout to me. So that was my final pick.
Definitely. So I think we've got a great set of picks there from Cherky to Ansu
Yep.
to
Billy
Parrott
Gilmore
to Gilmore. These are the players for the next
to look out for.
generation and to
Yeah.
look out for next season. And then we've got players like Foden also who have played slightly more than 20 appearances. Greenwood also to look out for. It Iharton. I keep saying his name wrong, but that's how you pronounce it, I'm pretty sure. João Felipe, we're covering the whole of Europe. We've got some great players to look out for. And I don't even know if it's fair to pinpoint the next big breakthrough star, because I think it'd be harsh on them. But if I was going to try
Yeah,
and pinpoint it, I'd say there's two leading candidates here. You have Ansu and you have Shirky.
yeah. I was going to say Ansu for sure.
I think those are the two which are 16, 17 years old. And
Yep.
they have the right openings to be playing week in, week out. And they're going to get noticed. They're going to really break through and be those big generational talents, in my opinion.
So there we have it. The next big things in football.
Another podcast done. Another topic covered. And
Yep.
another great pick by Feagan and Finch. Oh, great two picks. So we're talking Cherky and Ansu. Two players to look out for in years to come. We can come back to this, like we said about the Euros. We can come back to whether our teams are. We can come back and see if Ansu and Cherky and the others.
Yeah, check up on the list. See how they're getting on. Whether they're playing in the Dutch league for Herneveen, like Alahovic.
Yeah. We'll see. Right. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And watch our youngsters kick on. Football Manager's next best thing.